A spinach variety that is healthy as well as extremely delicious. The Longevity Spinach or Gynura procumbens is one plant you must grow in your garden. And we have a delicious spinach recipe for you as well. The Longevity Spinach is an edible vine found in China, Southeast Asia and Africa. It's just now beginning to gain popularity in the United States due to its massive health benefits. The health benefits of the Longevity Spinach include keeping blood sugar levels under control, which is good for people with diabetes. It helps reduce bad cholesterol and it keeps blood pressure under normal levels. So with these kind of health benefits, Longevity Spinach becomes one of the healthiest vegetables that you can eat. So I would highly recommend that you try and grow this in your home garden. Now let's look at the planting technique. To plant our Longevity Spinach, we're going to be using our potting mix, our easy potting mix that we discussed in our previous video. I'm not going to go over the details, but it's basically the recipe that you see on your screen here. And this forms a very well draining mix that the Longevity Spinach will grow excellent in. The plant that we have purchased is from a local garden store and it's very easy to propagate this plant, which we will see in the later section of the video. And once you plant it, it can grow either in full sun or in partial sun as well. Mine is growing in partial sun and it's growing really well. And within just a few days, about a week after planting, this plant was ready for harvest. And now let's look at the harvest. To harvest our Longevity Spinach, all we do is snip the stems that are growing outwards, and that not only helps us control the shape of the plant, it also gives us a good harvest. So as you can see here, we're just chopping away the leaves from the sides, and if you want, you can even harvest the individual leaves. But I just found that this harvesting method helps me not only harvest the spinach, but also give a nice look to this plant. And if you've not already noticed, this plant is also very good looking. It serves excellent as an ornamental plant, which is a big plus for your garden. And once you harvest the spinach, you need enough to prepare the kind of dish that you're preparing. Now, I usually steam them and then puree them into a dish, and I will be sharing that recipe with you towards the end of this video. But overall, I found this spinach variety to be an abundant producer, and it just keeps growing and producing these leaves which are just loaded with nutrition. So as you can see here, extremely healthy leaves, and once you start harvesting the Longevity Spinach, you can just keep harvesting it for quite some time. And here you can take a closer look at the harvested leaves. They look absolutely fresh, absolutely delicious. Now, Longevity Spinach grows excellent in partial sun, about 4 hours of sunlight a day. And as you can see here, ours has been growing along our side yard in this little patio area, and it has produced excellent leaves. I have no complaints of the quality of the leaves that it's producing, and it's also excellent to eat. And now let's look at the propagation technique for Longevity Spinach. I'm going to be snipping some of these tips which are growing outwards, and we will be propagating the spinach using this technique. All we need is just a few stems, and then what we will do is take these stems and then plant them in a potting mix, and they should be able to grow into full plants. So as you can see here, we have some containers with some potting mix, and all we really do is just loosen up the soil and then plant these stems into the soil. And since the Longevity Spinach is actually a wild growing plant, it will easily send out roots and develop into a new plant. So if you have somebody around, your friends, your neighbors, that has a Longevity Spinach plant, you can just take a few stems and start propagating it. It's an excellent way to propagate the Longevity Spinach. very soon we were able to harvest one more round of the longevity spinach. As you can see here, the plant after harvesting has grown back, and it's grown a lot more twigs, a lot more leaves around the plant. And this time when I'm harvesting, I also harvested a lot of the large leaves, and this gave a lot of room and a lot of air to the plant, which is very important for it to grow well. And now for a quick spinach recipe. Now a lot of you have asked me, what do I do with all the harvest that we have in our garden? So I thought of including a recipe whenever possible so that I can share with you what exactly do I do once we harvest all the produce from our garden. So the spinach being an extremely healthy and plant that's loaded with nutrition, the best way to prepare this is either to steam it or stir fry it, and that would give you the best nutrients. In this case, what we'll be doing is chopping up our spinach leaves into just a little smaller size so that it's more manageable. And what we're going to do is make a steamed spinach puree, which is not only extremely delicious but also very healthy. So for this, we start chopping up our spinach into smaller pieces, and you'll soon see why. Now if you have a larger container, you don't really need to chop the leaves. You can still steam them as is. But we are chopping them up so that it's easier to manage these small size leaves when we eventually cook them. Now we'll take a pan and add some water to this pan. This will be used to cook our spinach leaves. And inside the water, we're going to be adding some salt. You just need to add as much as you need. And some turmeric powder. Now it's better to add the salt and turmeric powder while you are boiling your spinach leaves. You can add it later as well, but I just find that the spinach leaves absorb a lot of flavor when cooked like this. And you will now add your spinach leaves to that water that you just created, the water with the turmeric and salt, and then you just mix it in very well so that the leaves are well mixed with the water. And once that is done, you can just close the lid and then let the spinach leaves cook. And after a few minutes, you will see that the spinach leaves start decreasing in size as they are cooking. So all you do is just mix them more and then just cover the lid and cook them for some more time. And eventually you will keep doing this for about 10 minutes or so. And eventually, once your spinach cooks to this consistency that you're seeing here, you can remove the spinach leaves, and now you're ready for the next step. And the next step, what we will be doing is just taking a sieve, and then you need to strain your spinach leaves so that you only get the leaves, and just save the water. You will need the water later on, so just save the water and you will be able to use it in the next step. In the next step, we're going to be using a blender. We will use a blender to puree these leaves, and you can just add it to the blender and then just run it at the first 3 speeds to make a nice puree like you see here. In a pan, you can just take some oil, and into the oil you can add some mustard seeds, cumin seeds, and optionally some red chilies. Now if you want to make it a little spicy, you can add the red chilies or you can skip it. And once the mustard seeds start sputtering, optionally you can add some green chilies and curry leaves. You are ready to add the pureed spinach that you prepared in the previous step, and then just add it to this mix and just stir it for some time. Within about a minute or so, your delicious longevity spinach puree is ready. Now if you want to drink it like a soup, you can add some more water and then dilute it so that it's not very pungent. I like to eat my spinach puree with rice or tortillas, and that's how I like to eat it, and it's very delicious. So there we have it, folks. That was our episode on growing the longevity spinach as well as the recipe. If you like this episode, do give us a thumbs up, and I would like to know from you whether you are interested in growing such interesting medicinal and healthy plants in your home garden. Do let me know in the comments box below. We'll see you again soon. Happy gardening.